Welcome to the Grown Up Show, where being a grown up is always up for debate. My name is Danny Barros, alongside my good buddy Anthony Hall.
What's up?
Episode 12 on tap. Here we go, man. We're really dialing in here. It's our 12th episode. First of all, I can't believe it's like we've been hanging out for 12 weeks. That means having a beer together for 12 weeks. I feel like that's the most we've hung out, probably definitely within the last year since your move.
Yeah.
But like kind of thinking like before that, life is so stressful. Like it's probably the most we've hung out in like 5 years,
Yeah. No, seriously, dude. It's
Could
been
be.
nice.
But
It's been really nice.
yeah, how's the week, man? Another busy week. Seems like you guys been pretty active.
Yeah, I'm just still enjoying this last couple weeks of paternity leave. So I have the rest of this week and then Monday of next week. So I've been
Nice.
just every other day I'm taking the kids out. They're riding their scooters and bike. Nate's just freaking done, dude. Like just on his bike cruising.
That's cool, man.
So it's cool because like I had a goal that I thought was a lofty goal, right? Which was to teach him how to ride a bike in the 2 weeks I was off. And I thought it was gonna be like,
Take the whole 2 weeks,
yeah. And it literally like from him really like it's hard to say this because he got to the point where before we moved where he was kind of pedaling on his own. Like I was running after him with my hand, like, like holding the bar, but like loose, like just, it was like just bouncing around.
You're not really doing anything, but if you need to,
just
you're
like
there.
just in case.
Right.
So, like he got to that point, but I thought like he would just lose it all, and he really didn't. So, he went from me having to kind of walk with him to full on. He can start on his own, stop on his own. He's going over speed bumps and stuff in 2 days.
That's
in
sick,
2 days
man.
is really like we're out there for like 3 hours. So I'd say honestly, like probably in like 4 hours he was good to go. And now he's just dipping. Luke's not there yet. He just loses interest. And that kid just likes to run. So
Yeah.
when Nate gets going, he wants to chase Nate and he can't keep up on the scooter or his little strider. So he just is like, I want to run. And it's fine. Like I don't want to push it, right? I want it to be something that they want to do. So I just let him run. I just, I get him all geared up. He rides a scooter for 5 or 10 minutes, rides his bike for 5 or 10 minutes, and he runs. And then at the end, I'm like, do you want to hop on one more time? And he'll hop on for a few more minutes. I just kind of got to ease him in.
You still skating next to him while they're riding?
Yeah. So that's been fun. No more
that
falls.
Should probably help Luke come along a little too. If he sees you out there riding something, like he'll want to ride along too,
Yeah, he still just likes to run though. Even me and Nate dipping around, he wants to chase us and have us chase him, but he'll get there.
You gotta try this with Luke. I used to do this with Zach when he was like 3-4 years old. I used to ride my skateboard and like put him in between my legs on the skateboard.
Yeah.
To where he was riding it too, and like you'd always get a kick out of that. You gotta try that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. But besides that, it's been good. Just been doing some work around the house. I did a dump run this morning. Kind of got this. So we have like our kitchen, and so we have a kitchen and like a kitchen nook, which is really like the size of a normal dining room. It's kind of embarrassing. And then we have a formal dining room.
The nook is like the size of a dining room.
Yeah, it's its own dining room. I hate calling it a breakfast nook because it's like it's next to the kitchen.
Yeah.
It's its own room. It's a fucking second dining room. But my wife's like, no, it's a breakfast nook. It's like, no, a nook is like in a corner. This is a full on room. Okay.
Is she like the same person that's like, no, that's not the family room. It's the living room.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh yeah. We have this little walk through from the kitchen to the formal dining room, and there's like a cabinet there, and I just call it like the storage room, and she's like, no, it's a butler's pantry. And I'm like, don't you have to have a butler for it to be a butler's pantry? I'm not a butler.
Yeah, who's going in there? I guess no one's going in there.
We ain't paying nobody to be a butler, so no, it's a damn storage closet. That's what I'm calling it.
Yeah.
So, no, it's a butler's pantry.
Isn't it time for a few new names of some of our furniture? Because like obviously we don't operate with butlers and things like that anymore, so it's never gonna be a butler's pantry.
Yeah,
it's just gonna be a hutch,
Yeah, so I kind of triggered her the other day. It was really funny though, because she's pissed about us not. We still don't have a kitchen. We're not gonna have a kitchen for a while, like a full on kitchen. But she's been talking about. She's like, gosh, when everything's said and done, it'd be really nice is to have like someone come in and cook every once in a while. And so the other day she was talking about the kitchen to someone. She's like, yeah, my kitchen's not done. I was like, your kitchen, wouldn't that be the cook's kitchen? And she was just like, "Oh, fuck you." Just like, "Oh, got her," you know? So
Yep.
just
Chef's kitchen,
yeah. Isn't that the cook's kitchen? It's not your kitchen. It's the cook's
Right.
kitchen, right? So
Yeah.
it was pretty
Yeah.
funny though. To me, it was funny to me. It wasn't funny to her at all. But
Maybe
that's
the
how.
cook will bring over a butler so they can
Oh,
use the
there you go.
butler's pantry.
There we go. Yeah.
It's all part of the
Okay.
service that you
All right.
hired, man.
Maybe
You
it's
know?
coming together. Yeah. But so right now the breakfast nook and the kitchen, they're demoed. The breakfast nook has no, it's like subfloor, and then I just put down ram board so we could like, because we use it like we have a changing table in there, and then like we have a couch that we're storing in there, and then it just has collected clutter, so I cleaned that all out, and rearranged it because the Peloton's coming in a couple weeks, and I'm gonna put it in there for now because my downstairs is still occupied by my
nice.
freaking brother-in-law. So, and down there we have like a little workout, like a designated space for, it's not like some fancy exercise room, but it's like a little room that is what it was for, and how the sales pitch was.
Totally functions for that.
Yeah.
You know?
So, but since we can't put it down there, I'm just going to put it in the breakfast nook, until the time comes where that's all built out, and then we'll take it from there.
So you can sip on your smoothies over there in the morning, you know, since it's
on the Peloton.
So like if it's a breakfast nook, can you like not eat lunch there?
You see, exactly, right? That's my argument. It's
Can you
like,
not have dinner there?
yeah, I don't know.
You
All
know,
these
like,
formal names is bullshit.
Yeah. Like where do you have a snack? Do you have to go to the couch? Like,
well, I mean, I guess in the riches world, you cook in the kitchen, you eat breakfast in the breakfast nook, and then all other meals are formal.
oh, okay.
So they go in a formal dining room.
That's right. Yeah. Usually lunch is eaten on the job.
Before we
eat dinner in the formal dining room.
Yeah,
you know?
right. Like, so before we gutted the place, we didn't even have a table in the formal dining room. Like, it was just a waste of space. The only reason it's like we use it so actively now is because everything else is gutted. But it's like when everything is back to how it should be, I know it's gonna be the same thing. She's gonna want me to make some epic table, which I'll love to do and we'll do. But then it's literally gonna sit in the dining room and just collect dust. We'll use it like on Thanksgiving and Christmas. And
you'll use it on the big holidays, and that's about it.
Yeah,
you know.
So
yeah, your everyday table will turn into the breakfast nook. You know, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's been my week. Just a lot of chilling. Just enjoying my vacation.
Nice, man.
I guess it's not. I can't call it that. It's not vacation. It's leave.
But I mean, it's a good time. I mean, it's summer still. You know, towards the tail end of summer, you got good weather. You know, like you guys can enjoy the outdoors and all that. So.
Yeah, up here it's been really nice. Like when I first started my leave last week, there was a couple days.
Hot, right?
There's a couple days, dude, where it was literally like 100, just under 100 degrees, like 98, 99 degrees.
Yeah.
So it was really nice, and then the guys are still chipping away. The exterior looks like it's going to be 100. Well, minus the staircase, 100% in the next couple weeks. So that's just like, it'll be a relief just knowing that that's all done before winter, because
you can at least check something off the list for sure. You know?
Yeah.
It's always a good feeling.
Yeah. What about you?
I mean, personally, I've been doing good. I mean, down here in Pacifica, we're hanging in there, but just kind of keeping an eye on a lot of the, tragedy that's going on around our state in terms of a lot of the wildfires that are going on. And, it just seems like it's compounding a lot of the issues that we're facing so far this year with the pandemic and whatnot. And it's like we got this crazy lightning strike a couple weeks ago, and it's just, set off a series of wildfires up and down the state. And, we're typically not even into our peak fire season yet. It usually comes like October-ish, is usually like typically the worst of it. So it's like we still have that to anticipate on top of what we're dealing with now. And it's like I just feel like first responders, especially the fire guys, are dealing with some gnarly stuff right now. And throughout the last several months with this pandemic, just first responders in general have just been called upon, above and beyond what they normally would in any given, normal time that we're used to dealing with. And it's just to go from one disaster to the next, just because duty calls, it's just my hat goes off to a man. And I'm just, I'm proud to be in a state where it has such great first responders and good leadership. And they answer the call very, very good and admirably. And I know that if something happened in my own community, I'd get the same response, and I feel lucky to be that way. And we need it, man. And I think we all just need to recognize what's happening and really just say thank you,
Yeah.
because this is crazy right now.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
know it's wild down there just from watching the news and talking to friends and stuff. But like, it's not close to Pacifica though, right?
No, the closest one to us is down in like the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Yeah. Okay.
And we've been getting some smoky air, but definitely not been feeling the effects of smoke like a lot of these other communities are,
Yeah.
like upwards to Napa and Sonoma County and even out in Livermore and things like that.
Hmm.
Because even though that one's sort of close, we're getting, us being on the coast, we're getting some
Yeah.
coastal breezes and
Yeah.
a lot
It's
of things
pushing
sort
it
of
away.
pushing it to the east, which has been nice. We've even been getting some of the fog at night, which is bringing a
Okay.
lot more moisture to the air, which helps it out and cleans it out. So,
Yeah.
fortunate for that. We can open our windows from time to time and even still go outside from time to time, keeping an eye on things. Air
Yeah.
quality's, considered moderate, but um, it could be a lot worse for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean,
Wow.
it's bad for some people. I'm speaking for myself. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be a lot worse for me personally, but
Yeah.
my heart goes out to those who've been affected by it, and I don't need. I've tried to put myself in their shoes. Like, I could you imagine like getting a call, or someone knocking on your door from the fire department, like, hey man, you got to leave. You got to get out of here in half an hour. You got 30 minutes. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even like. I haven't even really set anything up to really be prepared for something like that.
Yeah.
And
It
and
gets
it's
you
like
thinking about that.
I always think like I should, but it's like you always think like, oh, it's never gonna happen to me. But I mean, it could, or it could be an earthquake, or it could be something else that's crazy. You never know. So
Yeah.
starting to
I'm,
put a few things in perspective over here.
yeah, I've never even thought of stuff like that. And then we have a buddy who's got a ranch that's was close enough to the fires where they got evacuated. And then he was telling me like he went up there to water down the roof and all these like things to kind of prep for. Luckily, it just skated by and everything's fine. But just like thinking of like the things that he was doing and then
Yeah.
eventually they did get evacuated and they still can't go back yet because the fire's close. But it looks like it's not gonna affect their house. But
Yeah, that one was really threatening Pescadero for a while, and yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean, it's tough for any community, but when it starts hitting, you know, sort of close to home, it starts becoming, more than just a story you're seeing on the news. It's
yeah,
starting to affect the people you know and the community you live in and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, seeing what's happened in years past to some of these communities like Paradise and, from the campfire and then the other one through Santa Rosa. It's just, I mean, it takes years to recover from this kind of stuff. It takes
yeah,
communities like almost 10 years to really recover. I
yeah,
mean, and not just financially, but just to rebuild and it takes its toll on the
yeah,
local community really, really bad. So, I
yeah,
mean, it seems like it's just going to continue to happen year after year the way the trending has been going. So it's tough. It's really
yeah,
tough.
yeah, dude,
But
wild stuff.
But let's on that note, let's have a beer for all those first responders and say cheers, man.
Yeah, I'm down.
What do you got this week, bro?
I got a big hazy cane from Migration Brewing.
Nice.
Yeah, this is another a good brewery. So it's obviously a hazy IPA, 6.7 alcohol, 40 IBUs. I have not had this one. I've had a few of their other beers. Same as like last week, where I'm pretty set that this is gonna be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it will be.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice. All right, so I'm rolling with it's called Chasing Haze from a local brewing company here in San Francisco, California. That's the name of the brewery, local brewing company. I'm not
Ah.
just saying a local brewing company.
Well, you kind of two birds, one stone there.
Yeah, so it's called Local Brewing Company.
Mm.
Um, they're pretty relatively new on my radar. It's, I've only had like 2 or 3 of other beers of theirs. I have not had this one yet. This is a double dry hopped hazy IPA. And it's 8.6 percent, and I'm excited. Let's give this a
Nice.
shot. Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Oh yeah, it tasted exactly as I expected. Nice and nice thick body on that one.
Nice.
Really good, really smooth. What's the IBUs? Does it have it?
I'm gonna have to get one of those because we all know I like them nice thick bodies.
I know, man. It's nice. It's a good one, bro.
Hey, you set it up. I just set it out.
I know. But
So unfortunately, we've been fortunate that lately we've been able to have some fun conversations. Unfortunately, here we are again. Gonna have to talk on some sensitive stuff this week. That's never really fun for us, but stuff that's important to talk about. And the big thing that's probably going to take up majority of this week's episode is Jacob Blake.
Yeah.
Jacob Blake is another young
tragic
African
story.
American that has been shot by a white police officer. Luckily, not dead. He is in, I guess now he's been moved from critical condition to stable. I keep reading some articles back and forth about maybe him possibly being paralyzed. Not, but the fact is, the great thing is he's alive.
Yeah.
This one was a tough one for me to swallow. I did watch the video. Did you actually watch the shooting?
I did. Yeah. It was hard to watch, but I feel like that's the best way you can actually speak on it. If you're going to, is you got to watch it.
I watched it a few times. It's gut wrenching one. I think it's equally as horrible, if not worse, than George Floyd outside of the fact he lived. The reason for that is, for those that might not know, I'm pretty sure everyone knows by now. This is a man that was actually shot in the back 7 times by one police officer as the guy was getting in his car. Now, I want to start this off, if you don't mind, by just giving a little bit of context, because there is some misinformation out there as normal.
Mm-hmm.
So it was released, I think it was today, maybe it was yesterday afternoon, that apparently Jacob Blake had a knife in his car, and it was in the floor panel, the driver's side.
What I read was that a knife was recovered on the driver's side floorboard. That's exactly how it was quoted in whatever article I read.
Yeah,
and they even went on to say after that they don't know into what context the knife was mentioned or involved in the altercation.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to bring this up from the start because this is what's going to happen, because it's what happens every single time with this shit. If you watch the video, he walks away from the police officers calmly, walks around his car, opens the driver door, and proceeds to lean forward, which looks like he's getting into the car. Now, they're saying the knife was in the driver's side floor panel, which if you look at the video, it does look like he's leaning forward and could possibly reach the floor. But it doesn't really matter. And I don't care who you are, where you're from, if you're Republican, if you're Democratic, you're white, black, Mexican, Chinese, racist, not racist. It doesn't take away from the fact this guy was head first in his car, and the police officer at point blank range shot him in the back 7 times. And let me just put this in context to you. This is exactly what it was. It was 4 shots, then a hesitation, and then 3 more shots. So why? First off, 4 is too many. But the fact that he
why
hesitated,
can you stop after that?
The fact that he stopped and then continued to shooting is enough for me to, I don't need to know this guy. I don't need to know anything about this guy. At that point, he was ready to, his goal was to kill the guy. It's pretty plain. It's really, to me personally, it's pretty black and white that if you can shoot someone in the back 4 times, stop for a solid 2 seconds, which doesn't seem like a long time, but in the heat of the moment like that, it's an eternity. a lot can go through your head in 2 seconds when you're in the heat of the moment. He had enough time to think, you know what? I'm just going to shoot him a few more times, and then proceeded to. And the icing on the cake, this guy was getting into his car where his 3 children were in the car. They watched their father get shot in the back by police officers. It was 2 police officers, only 1 shot, 7 fucking times. Now,
it's ridiculous.
And I'm very much not anti-police. I have a lot of police friends. I think police are very important. I think police are very valuable. I honestly, yes, this is a white police officer on a black man crime again. But to be honest, dude, this one was so different and so unique. You don't even really need to pull the race card. This was just wrong across the board, no matter what color the victim was.
No matter
what color the police officer was. This was completely unacceptable, completely unnecessary. The guy deserves an attempted murder charge and deserves jail time, and I don't think there's any question about it whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's difficult because it shouldn't take this long to really get to that point. But yeah, I mean, going back to how this thing unfolded, I mean, you said a lot, and I agree with everything you said. But I mean, a couple thoughts that come to mind for me. It's like, okay, I've never been in a situation where I've had to defend myself with a firearm. I've only shot a gun once in my life, and I'll probably never shoot another one. I don't own any guns. I'm not against guns, but I'm not pro guns. I don't really care about guns. The guns aren't for me. I don't need to own them. It doesn't, not a big deal. But where I'm going with this
here's
is
the thing with guns for me real fast. I own, honestly, probably about 30 guns in Call of Duty, and the nice thing about them is they cost me $60. Where real guns cost easily $300, $400, $500 at the low, you know? Right. I have enough fun shooting my video game guns and having a shit ton of money in my pocket.
Yeah.
But for those that are gun enthusiasts and are smart about it, I totally respect that. I have a couple buddies that are gun nuts, and it's to the point it is a little weird to me, but they're super responsible with them. I'm all for it. I'm just cheap, man. That's the reality.
No, I agree with you. I enjoy, slaying some fools in COD as well. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I've never been in that police officer's shoes, but I do have to think that if I'm in a situation with a firearm, and even if this person verbally said they had a knife, or I see a knife, I know that I'm in a fight with a gun versus a knife. So you can't shoot me with a knife. So my first reaction would be I'll probably take a few steps back.
Exactly.
And then even if that doesn't work, there are so many other officers around here that hopefully we can apprehend you physically without having to discharge any of our weapons.
Yeah.
Maybe that's somebody else running up behind you, doing something like that. If you are indeed holding the knife and we feel threatened by that knife. Yeah. He's also getting into his car door, and this guy's standing right behind him where he's in between the door and the car, right? So even this officer could have stepped around to the other side of the door, so he had the door in between him and the suspect.
He could have even leaned onto the door.
Yeah, and tried to kind of pin him in there. Exactly. There's so many other tactics he could have done.
And yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that makes me feel the way I feel about this is I watched it a few times and I thought okay, the worst case scenario, this guy looked at the cop and said, F you white POS cop, I'm going to go get my knife and stab you in the throat. No, still no excuse to get shot in the back 7 times. The stepping back. And the thing that is blowing my mind and really frustrating me with all these shootings lately is you keep seeing the videos the person's backing off, they're on the ground or something. Why are these guys, if you really need to shoot someone, why are you not shooting them in the leg or the arm?
Right.
I don't under that. And that's the thing. There was a video. I don't think this was recent. I think it was a while ago, but there was a video that's recirculated lately. Not after Jacob Blake, after George Floyd, of police officer and a guy with a knife, and the guy with the knife is chasing the police officer, and the police officer is holding a gun at him, pointing a gun out, and they're literally running in circles. Like the police officer is running away from this guy, pointing the gun, and the guy has a knife. Tried every possible thing to calm the guy down before he shot him, and he finally just shoot the guy, shot him dead, completely justifiable. It was obvious he did everything he could to try to get the guy to stop, to get down, to the point where he was literally, I'm not even exaggerating, they were running in circles. And it just got to the point where he just shot him. And it's like, you know what?
Well, yeah, at that point, somebody's actively trying to take your life.
And it's like these shootings lately that are with George Floyd, Jacob Blake, they're just so blatantly lazy. Like they're not putting any other effort. It's almost like they're just like, I'm not dealing with this right now, you're dead. And they have that power, and that's scary.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the other thing that's just really, really clear to me, and this is for me, the saddest part of all this is like, why is it that we can't learn from the previous mistakes that were made? It's like, it seems like we can never learn from all the mistakes that have been taking place. And it's not like George Floyd was the first, okay?
Yeah.
So like, let's be real here. It's like the thing is, it's like if George Floyd did nothing, the thing that it did the most was bring so much awareness to like, what are we doing with our system? Why is our system so broken? Why is our system so wrong? And all this kind of stuff, right? And it brought to light that, oh, the police need more training, they need more education, they need more this, they need more that. So why are they not getting it? It's clear that this guy still needed more training.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if he needed more diversity training. He needed more tactical training on how to de-escalate situations in the field, because he clearly was not trained well enough to handle any of these situations, evidenced by, case in point, Jacob Blake shot 7 times in the back.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll say this. We don't know. I've never talked to the police officer. You know, none of us have. I know it's a very, very sensitive race right now. And I'm not trying to take away from that. But if you really get down to the bottom of this, this has nothing to do with race. This is 110% a police officer that was quite obviously not trained or prepared for this type of situation. This is 100% at the very foundation. Now there could and probably are layers on top of it, which may very well involve racism, but the foundation is this is a police officer that, as a civilian, can, like me, can quite honestly very easily tell is not trained enough. I mean, it's just so outrageous. And I said, I've watched it a few times, and I tried putting everything in my head, even in a scenario where, you know, dispatch is is in the police officer's ear and says, hey, you know, I don't know this. I don't know this. What I'm about to say could be, you know, I'm just example. Okay. You know, dispatch could be saying, oh, Jacob Blake, you know, he's got multiple assault charges, blah, blah, blah. Could be, you know, prepping this police officer for this guy to be, you know, a threat, a possible serious threat. The way it played out, it's still, there was absolutely no reason for the shots. Absolutely none. Like I just keep trying to think of every possible scenario that could have justified this, and there's absolutely zero. There's zero.
Yeah, no, there is none.
I mean,
there's not. I mean, you can't justify this. And it's like, I think, you know, I mean, in any of these situations that continuously happen in our society, you know, police shooting innocent suspects, or in this case, like, thank God he lived through this so that we can actually hear his side of the story.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that I am anticipating the most, because George Floyd didn't live to tell his, and so many others didn't live to tell theirs.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and that's the hardest pill to swallow, is that these people fall victim to this discrimination and this type of brutality and abuse, you know, and they don't get to live to tell their side of the story, and we're left to judge, you know, the person who committed these acts based solely on their, you know, testimony and whatever video evidence we have. You know, so it's like, not only do we have all of that, but this individual will get to speak, and we'll get to say something about it, which, you know, we're all gonna know exactly what happened eventually. We're
Yeah.
all going to know what exactly why he was there and why he was walking to his car in that moment
Yeah.
and what he was getting out of his car, or was he just getting into his car? Like it will be said,
Yeah.
and these people will be held accountable for it.
So the original report, which I believe is still for the most part standing as correct, is the police were called for a domestic abuse complaint, which Jacob
Right.
Blake actually was breaking up.
Yeah, he was not even involved in said domestic dispute.
Yeah, so that it goes that much more deep into how fucked up this situation really was.
Yeah.
How unprepared, uneducated, whatever the police officer was.
Right.
But I still, after thinking of all of it, dude, like 7 times, like it's just weird to me.
Well, hang on. Going back to like interpreting like the breakup of the fight. Like I want to get to your 7 times because that's important. But like while we're on that subject, it's like like this goes back into the racial profiling. This goes back into so many things because here he is trying to break up a fight, and this was a domestic dispute between a man and a woman, and there was already a restraining order against one of them. I think it was the man.
Yeah.
And so you could imagine that when police were called, they were called for, I'm sure it was described as a black man, in a domestic dispute at said location. And, there's a restraining order, yada, yada, yada. Well, police show up and it's probably 2 black men there because one of them's Jacob Blake trying to break it up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jacob Blake's wearing the white tank top, which can be perceived very negatively.
Yep.
Also known as a wife beater to some. Yeah. Not that saying he is at all, but I'm just saying what it's commonly referred to.
Yeah.
And here we are in America. So my point being is it's not uncommon for the police just to think that he's the problem. And he might have been speaking more at that moment because he's trying to break the 2 up. Yeah. Or he's trying to talk sense into them. So they just think that he's suspect A. Yeah. Like he's the number 1 target. And they go immediately after him. And then when he's trying to walk away because he's like, I don't have anything to do with this. I'm just here trying to break it up. They're telling him to stop. They're telling him to do all this kind of stuff. And he's just trying to get the hell out of there, Yeah. And so that's kind of like one scenario that I kind of see how it going down,
Yeah. That's a tough one too, because I've been in similar situations. And where I'm involved.
I know all your run-ins with the law.
I know. I've had a few. Because of dumb stuff most of the time. But no, I've been in scenarios where I've had, I've been a witness or something and I've had to talk to police officers and
right.
And they're very, not all, this is just some, they don't want the bullshit, and like, sometimes it's really hard. And I've actually had experiences with police officers myself where I've been trying to explain something to them and I walk away feeling like, why do I feel like a piece of shit right now?
Yeah.
And it's a combination of things. It's one, which I think a lot of people don't know this or don't think about it as, having a couple close friends that are police officers that I get to share a lot of stories with. I think a lot of the mass population out there doesn't realize that these guys, man, the police officers, their job is to deal with bullshit all day, every day. 90% of the job, 90% of the people they talk to are people that are lying to their face, trying to get out of shit. Right. So it's like it's exhausting. It has to be one of the most brutal, most exhausting, to the point where my childhood best friend is a police officer, and I'll get in conversations with him every once in a while, and I'll get this little vibe, and I don't even think he knows this, and it's nothing, he's like a brother, really like more of a brother to me than my own brothers. But so every once in a while, I'll get in these conversations, I'm like, I get this little feeling like, am I being interrogated right now? It's become so natural because he has to do it all day, every day. He has to ask these little questions.
He knows how to profile and go down and ask you the questions.
And I don't think he's doing it or he's not doing it intentionally, but it's just, so for me, it's like, I can see some parts of this where he probably, the police officers probably show up. Everyone's riled up. Jacob Blake's probably trying to explain stuff, and the cops probably like, slow down, and just, and right there is the disconnect. But that disconnect still, unfortunately, falls on the police officer. It's just like, what is it called? Bedside manners, or
yeah.
Like with the doctor. That's your job. You do it every single day. This person probably has only had one stroke in their life, where you
Right.
probably deal with someone that has a stroke every day.
Right.
And so it's the same with those police officers where,
Well, yeah. I mean, it also goes. I'm sure you hear it at work when in whatever sort of training you're having. It goes to the word empathy, bro.
yeah,
And it's like, cops for have to have. It's one of the most empathetic jobs that you need to
yeah,
have. You need to have the most empathy because you need to have empathy for the person that you're dealing with right now. And then when you get in your car and you drive to the next one, you have to have the most empathy for that person.
yeah,
Because every person, like you said, every person who's coming in contact with a cop is probably having the worst day of their life.
yeah. And
You know?
and for a
Or not
majority of
necessarily the worst
them,
day of their life, but they're having a bad day. I mean,
yeah,
you just got pulled over. You're having a bad day.
yeah, and
And it's like,
yeah,
especially if they're coming after you because you're a suspect at something, you're really going to be having a bad day, or you're probably already having a bad day.
yeah.
You know?
And a majority of them, it's probably the first time they've ever interacted with a police officer, or in a certain way.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm not defending this police officer. I'm just, I'm trying to, sometimes you really, and I'm really good at this for whatever reason. I think it has a lot to do with how I was raised, but I'm really good at just kind of stepping back, taking a breath, looking at both sides and seeing like, okay, where was the breakdown here? Where did it start? And that's probably realistically, dude, where it started. It probably started with the cops showing up. There's probably some yelling and arguing going on. The cops are, trying to figure out what's going on. Jacob Blake's all pumped up, everyone along with everyone else, and the cops probably just were getting frustrated and trying to figure out what's going on, and then it probably just got worse and deteriorated. The conversation deteriorated from there
Yeah.
to the point where Jacob Blake probably was like, "Oh, f this, I'm out of here. I'm done." And was trying to walk away, and the cops were like, "No, you're not going anywhere," and he's not listening. And then the next thing you know, he gets shot in the back 7 times.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
that's where it just totally everything collapses. But I think a lot of like people need to. It's important for them to know that the police. A lot of work needs to be done. A lot,
Yeah.
more in depth training and stuff. But people also need to realize that you know cops they deal with shit all day, every single day. But the argument against that, which is a fair argument, is they signed up for that. They should be prepared for that, and they should know how to be empathetic, like you're saying. And I absolutely agree
Yeah.
with that. But it is very. It's starting to become more and more apparent to me that and I'm not trying to hide the race problem. There's a 110% a race problem in our country, hands down. But the foundation is very much a gap in training. That's where this starts, and this is where it stems from. Because the deeper training, I bet you'd also uncover some racism in your police academy, and might want to second guess even moving on with some people if it was a little longer than it was.
Yeah. It needs education and training definitely for those already on the force. But it needs a rigorous retooling of its practices and procedures on how we're going to train those who are going to be newcomers within the
Yeah,
force. Like if you're going to go to the academy, um, it's like we need to do things different. We need to screen people differently.
yeah,
We need to certainly do way more discussion on implicit bias and things of that nature. Um, and if certain characteristics or morals of people start to come out within these trainings, that needs to be part of the screening process. It's not like, oh, I got in, I'm going to become a cop. It's like, okay, you got in, but if while we're training you things, if you're not responding to them well, we might need to rethink why you're in here.
yeah,
And I don't think that those conversations are really had very often. I mean, it's been said too that these police unions are like of the strongest unions of all time,
yeah,
and police officers can, the way these unions operate is these police officers can be let go for something in one town and very easily be brought back on in another force somewhere else.
yeah,
And it's like that stuff needs to sort of um, be taken way more into consideration for
yeah,
things. I mean, just the guy from George Floyd alone had like 17 complaints against him,
yeah,
and the guy was still out there on the streets having a day job like nothing ever happened.
yeah. And he was
It's like, how
also
did
there
if
was
you and I get
multiple.
complaints against us, it's like, I
Oh, we're
mean,
gone.
yeah, it's not gonna happen. We're not gonna last very long,
Yeah, yeah.
So
Um, yeah. The George Floyd officer. even had complaints from his side gig too. He was apparently overly aggressive with people in the club that he was a bouncer for or security for. Um, so yeah, there's definitely a problem there, and it's still like, and it just sucks. Like I find myself today a lot thinking about the good cops and how much it really just really screws them too. Like
Oh,
like
for sure.
our buddy, he's one of the best cops in the world. Um, and like when I saw this and I watched the tape, and you know, not in a negative way. Like, of course, I felt terrible for Jacob Blake and his family, but as it relates to you and your personal lives, like I instantly thought of my buddy, and just the first thought that went through my head is, God, he's got to go through all this bullshit. It's just gonna start all over. This is
Yeah,
George Floyd
yeah.
all again, and it's hard when you're thinking about a good police officer, and you know now he's gonna have to go back out and deal with the riots, and it's something he doesn't
Well,
want any
right, and
part in
not that the
in a
George
positive
Floyd
way.
situation really ended, but it got to a much more peaceful state, and things were being demonstrated as they continue to be demonstrated,
Yeah,
under control and in a peaceful way, right? So, like the issue with this, like you say, it's like you have, like this is how it affects the good cops in a way. It's like this dude creates what turns into a huge mess because now there's going to be a lot more protesting, a lot
hmm,
more, public demonstrations as there already are at this very moment
yep,
in Wisconsin, and it's like, and who's going to be out there to deal with it? The good cops. The good
yeah,
cops are in this metaphor are going to have to go clean up your mess,
yeah,
because
and their
and
lives are at
rightfully
risk.
so, they should be out there protesting, they should be doing all that stuff, but still there needs to be a police presence while it's happening,
Yeah,
and who's gonna be doing it? The good guys.
yeah,
While you're on administrative leave,
yep.
licking your
And their
wounds or
lives are at
thinking
risk.
about what
The
you did.
police officers' lives are at risk as well
Yeah,
in these
because
protests and
they're gonna
stuff.
take the rage that they should be throwing in this guy's face at all the other ones,
Yep.
and
And
that's
the protests, they're getting aggressive, which
yeah,
is unfortunately understandable because nothing's
yeah,
changing. And this is a it's really a smack in the face of everything that's happened over the last 3 months with the uproar over George Floyd, and what the changes that have been made. Which, to be honest, it's baby steps, but the some big changes went through. Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben,
yeah,
the
yeah.
Washington Redskins. Like are they are little, but they are monumental at the same
They're
time.
more symbolic than anything, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
it's more symbolic that these are very well-known, recognizable, logos, symbols,
yeah,
whatever, and regardless of how people can recognize this and what that means for dollars in my pocket, we realize that this is no longer something that we should be making money off of, so we're changing it.
yeah,
And I hope that you follow us in our new look.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And
And
that's very admirable.
for me, it's something that I actually promote that type of stuff. Like we have a beef in the house here where my wife, my mother-in-law, they like challenge butter. I am a Land O'Lakes guy. Well, the Native American has been removed from the Land O'Lakes box.
It's okay.
So me and
I
Safeway,
eat
I'm like, you
vegan
know
butter,
what?
you
That's
know?
pretty cool. I'm gonna buy some Land O'Lakes butter, and I'll deal with the backlash at home for a few weeks. So
I this is you're probably gonna make fun of me for it, but I'm a vegan butter guy, you know?
I'm not gonna make fun of you. That's just sad, and I feel bad for you.
Well, we've become a non-dairy household over here. I mean, we're definitely going on a tangent real quick, but we're a non-dairy household over here because my youngest was getting ear infections, and one of the biggest
Yeah,
things
yeah.
was they cut out the dairy, and so we went non-dairy. And to be honest, dude, it's been great because it's dairy's. I guess it's not very good for you in general, and it
It
causes a lot of
depends. I mean,
allergic reactions on things, but
to some, it's good in a lot of ways too, though.
yeah, I mean, I still have a deli sandwich with cheese on the outside, but everything on the inside of our household
Yeah,
is dairy free. And to be honest, dude, like it doesn't like the vegan butter is not bad. It tastes the same to me. You know,
yeah.
you just dash a little bit more salt on it, and it's all good. You know.
See,
But
but
anyway,
then
back to
salt
back
is
to
bad for your arteries, so it's like you never win with food, dude. That's a
but
whole
we
nother
don't use sodium
conversation.
chloride the way everyone else does. We use pink Himalayan salt,
Oh my god.
so it's more
Why am I
natural.
friends with you? Can you remind me?
Bro, if it wasn't for my wife with all this health stuff, I'd be like probably like 700 pounds, you know? I mean, the way I
Yeah.
eat, it's crazy. It's like
Join
when I'm
the club.
outside of that, when I'm outside of the house, dude, it's like, oh my God, what can I get my hands on? Like, I need to get a cheeseburger or something, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like inside the house, it's like, okay, what do we have? We have some broccoli tonight and some, you know.
Oh
But
my
anyway,
gosh. That's
but
crazy.
back to the serious conversation because I wanted to make a couple more points.
Oh yeah, me too.
I think one interesting thing or tangent, or did you want to finish your thought before I kind of bring us down a
I
different
already
path?
forgot where I was going with it, so it's
I
all
know,
good.
I'm sorry, dude.
No,
You're
it's fine.
talking
I
about
just
you're talking about the beef you have with your wife over butter, and like you're gonna
oh
try
no,
to defend.
just the fact that like yeah, okay, it came back to me. No, I was just saying like this kind of it takes all those changes that a lot of big companies have been making and things, and it's almost like a slap in the face to them a little bit. It's not because they did the right thing regardless of what just happened with Jacob Blake, but it's like it just makes you feel like are we actually making changes that are helpful, and beneficial?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, which in the long run it is. When you're kids, especially like me and you, we kind of think differently because we have kids and we have to kind of look through their eyes and stuff. And now they're not going to see these certain products in our house that represent something in a certain way. That just kind of becomes like second nature to you. You don't think like Uncle Ben. That the photo of Uncle Ben is quite possibly the most racist like photo there is in any kind of food. Like it
yeah,
is literally he just looks like a retired slave.
yeah,
Like it's like right in your face. Um so and as a kid looking at it, you just don't it just kind of goes in your head. You don't think about it as slavery, but it's what it is it's planting the seed that's okay. That it's okay for him to be he's supposed to be
right, right.
projecting or whatever. So it is good things, but it still gives that little hint of like all the work that's been being done, which is great work. It's kind of a slap in the face to it a little bit.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's good, and it's not because this was like a cop that's like getting chased down and shoots a black guy. This is a guy that shot him in the back,
yeah,
as he was walking away. Like, and that's what makes it a slap in the face. Is that this isn't something that can be debated, and the fact that some people are trying to debate it is insulting on top of it. It's not something that's like, well, it kind of looked like he was lunging towards him, and the
no,
cop took a step back. There's none of that. There's
none of
none.
that.
This is a straightforward. You fucked up, dude, and you're
Yeah,
going
for
to jail
real,
for a long
for
time
real.
for it, as you deserve to. Like, and that's what makes it the slap in the face. Is there's you cannot argue this. And if you're trying to argue this, you should probably be in the jail cell next to the police officer that did it.
No doubt.
That's how straightforward of a huge mistake this was.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree, man. And it's interesting because I was listening to a lot of different conversations on this on the radio today. It kind of dominated, you know, um, a lot of different platforms.
Oh yeah. Well, the fact
Even
what sports are
ESPN and
doing,
stuff like that.
which you're
Yeah,
gonna get into, just yeah, it's all over the
yeah.
place,
I mean,
which it should be.
but I've heard a lot of different people speak, and even some famous people speak, and they always ask the question like, well, what if it was a white person and a black cop? Like what if the same situation continued to happen over and over and the roles were reversed and the majority of cops out there were black cops and the majority of these people getting killed, or all of them in this case, were white people. Like
Yeah.
what would you be doing? Would you be fearing for your life? Would you be, I mean, it's trying to ask the white people out there, us included,
Yeah.
like what would you be doing in this other situation? And it got me thinking about, I got two kids, and I got two boys, and we're white. It's the way it is. Um, and I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, it's like I'm very interested in the conversation. I'm very interested to get educated, and I feel like I grew up very well. Not, I wouldn't say well educated, but educated enough to where I don't feel like I'm very racist at all. Whatever you want to call it, right?
Hmm.
I feel like we grew up in a very great area in the Bay Area. We're
Yeah.
very, very diverse. We see things very equal around here. And my kids do too, for the most part. But at the same time, we haven't had to have a lot of these serious conversations in terms of like how or why things are happening. And my kids don't watch the news or any of this kind of stuff. But like, I'm like, at what point do I involve them into the conversation? And I'm trying to, at the same time, I was trying to like, as you hear the name Jacob Blake, you hear the name George Floyd and all the names that came before them. I'm trying to think to myself, I'm 35 years old. Okay, what was the first name that I remember of something like this, like being really serious that like I can go back and remember and like I can put my finger on it that I knew that this happened and I knew that this wasn't right. And for me, that goes back to March 3rd, 1991, the day that Rodney King
Hmm.
was brutally beaten, by LA cops that
Hmm.
sparked tons of the LA riots in the early 90s. And and that was something where looking back, I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, I have my youngest son is 5 years old,
Yep.
and I haven't really talked to him about these things, and it's like I need to because I realized that like I was aware at 5 years old of what was happening with the Rodney King situation,
Hmm.
you know? And you would think the way that erupted with the riots that it did, you would think that we would have conquered this issue then, 29 years ago.
Yeah.
But here we are in 2020 dealing with the exact same thing, and it seems like it's happening more and more. And Rodney King lived through that. He
Yeah.
was beaten by nightsticks. None of those cops pulled out a gun.
Yeah.
And it seems like nowadays every single cop is pulling out their gun way too quick for
Yeah.
way less of reasons than they necessarily need to be whipping these guns out.
Yeah.
And they're pulling these triggers for whatever reason that it doesn't make any sense,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and that's the big thing is, which in the past I never really questioned, but lately I have been. It's why do police officers really need lethal weapons? And I know that to a lot that's going to sound like a really stupid question, but the reality is in every one of these killings lately, I mean, rubber bullets, the tasers can really mess someone up to the point where they're not going to be a threat to you, but their life's not going to be at risk either.
Right.
I know we have a gun problem in some aspects in this country where, if you send a cop into a bank robbery with rubber bullets, that's going to be a problem for the cop. So I get that, but I feel like, they have the ARs and the shotguns locked up in the cars. I feel
Right.
like something needs to change where it's like the pistol on their hip maybe isn't there. And if when they arrive on a scene and they can get in a place where they can assess it, they can then decide. I think that whatever the case is, these two black guys on the corner here arguing, even if they have a gun on them, I'm pretty confident that my rubber bullets is going to knock them on their ass to the point where they're not going to. This could be my ignorance, and I'll accept that. Or they can say, "Oh, this is a bank robbery. That I have intel that there's armed guys in here. Okay, now it's time to bring out the unlock the locked
Right.
gun in the car." But and I think I'm sure there's more to it than that, but I feel like the discussion needs to be now in those kind of
Yeah.
changes. And there
Well,
has to
and
be
I
a
think
balance to where the police
taser used a whole
officers.
lot more because I don't feel like people. I mean, think about how many other officers were there in this scene. It's like, why weren't any one of them holding their tasers? Everyone
Well,
was pointing
yeah,
their guns.
yeah, and that's the
It's
big
like,
thing
why are
too.
we not pointing our tasers at somebody who's not carrying a gun?
Yeah,
If you're not carrying a gun, like we shouldn't be pointing one at you
yeah, yeah, and I think that is
because they
what's.
were pointing them at him even before he got to the door
Oh
of the
yeah,
vehicle.
yeah,
You know what I
and I
mean? So it's
think
like,
I think that's what's sparking that kind of. And this is I'm like top not just talking off the top of my head. So like I know if I rethink what I just said, I'll probably be like, oh well, that was dumb to say. But just to start the discussion, and that's the thing is,
that
it's like
happens a lot.
why are like a gun should have never even been a thought in that scenario in this certain
Right.
scenario. Um, but that was the first thing, the first go-to, before the nightstick, before the taser, before the pepper spray, before whatever else, tools the police officer has. It's like skip A through D and go straight to option E, or whatever. Which is just kind of, I think
Right.
that does that play into, this is them just dealing with the same bullshit every day, and they're like, I'm not even gonna fuck with all the, this little nonsense. I'm just gonna get straight to the point. Put the, do what I say, or I'm gonna shoot your ass. Just the shortcut, easy way to them because they're tired of dealing with it every day. Maybe that's not right though. So
Yeah, I mean, okay. Number one, the cop should have never fired his weapon. Okay, well, I just want to make that clear. My next statement is going to say, okay, but if you are going to fire your gun and I'm a cop, I'm going to fire my gun. Okay, let me ask you a question, bro. If I shot you one time, do you think you'd probably stop what you're doing and I'd get your attention?
I think majority of the time, yes. I know from personal experience, adrenaline is a really crazy thing, and especially more so when your life is at risk. But I still feel that, like, even in this scenario, why didn't you shoot him in the ass? His ass was right in your face.
It's like, from a point of adrenaline, the cop is trained. The cop is going to be like, this is his day job. If he's got to pull his gun, he's got to be in this situation more often than not. So he should not be acting from a place of adrenaline.
Well, no, I'm talking about the other end, the person getting shot. Like, if I got shot,
he's got adrenaline, but the person firing the gun has to have more wherewithal or whatever the fuck you want to call it to like understand the situation at hand. And if said person is not carrying a weapon, you can shoot and reassess before you fire the second time. If you really feel the need to shoot your gun, you shoot it once and see what happens.
Yeah. No, and that is the single most.
But I'll probably take heat for that because like shooting your gun at all, like I said, is like it's not okay, especially in that situation. Yeah. But like I'm just saying, if the cop feels so compelled to like shoot his gun, it's like you got to go through this mental process. It's not just pop, 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 pop till like, okay, I feel like I'm safe. If that's what you're doing as a cop, you should not be a fucking cop.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think that's, and the other point to that is also where you're shooting. Like, why are you shooting to kill? Like, if I'm a police officer and there's a guy 10 feet away from me and he starts to charge me, you can still easily shoot him in the leg. Shoot him in the kneecap. You shoot him in a kneecap, he's done. He's not getting up. He's, you may probably not even walk right anymore, but hey, he's alive. Right. The threat's done. You get shot in the kneecap, you're done. No matter how much adrenaline you have, you're not walking.
Shooting in the leg is purely to subdue the target.
And that, I mean, your legs are half your body. Like you're telling me you can easily shoot this guy in the chest. You can easily shoot him in the leg. There's no difference in time.
Well, and the other thing is like it's not like you were at the scene alone. There's so many other cops there that it's like if you do to use that tactic where you shoot him in a limb to where you're wounding the individual, then you rush on and everybody apprehends the suspect and we're good to go.
Yeah, even if you shoot him in the foot, it gives you enough or somewhere that might not even take him down. That one shot, non-lethal shot, is going to be enough to disorientate and confuse the person getting shot to where your fellow colleagues can react and get to that person before they know what to do next. I mean, even if I'm not saying I'm some kind of superhero. I don't know. I've never been shot, but for me, it's probably gonna go one of two ways. I'm gonna get shot. I'm gonna fall on the ground crying like a little baby, it's gonna freak me out, and I'm gonna go into fight or flight. It's the typical fight or fight for my life or flight. It's gonna be one or the other. So you get shot once, and it sparks that adrenaline. Okay, then a second shot's understandable. It still can be a non-lethal shot. And probably do what you're intending to doing of stopping that person,
Right.
And I feel like a police officer of all people, if they're doing this all day, every day, should have the mental capacity to understand and be able to do that in the heat of a moment,
Right.
I agree. I know you know this, but and most people do. In the heat of the moment, really, honestly, time does slow down. Like, for most, like I know for a fact. And this is what, like, I want to get back to the how many times he got shot. This is what makes me feel 100% that this cop had an agenda, regardless of it's race related or not, is the hesitation. He shot him 4 times and then waited to see what happened. And you know what happened? And you can see it in the video. Jacob Blake dropped forward. The horn went off. And then he decided to shoot him 3 more times. Like, there was no reason for the extra 3 shots. Like we've said multiple times, there was no reason for the first 4. But the fact, like, I just wish, like, we've said this before, like, sometimes someone does something outlandish and you think, like we said this with the 2 the racist idiots with the Black Lives Matter paint. Like, I would just love to be in their mind, before they went
Oh
out to
yeah,
do that.
yeah,
This is a person I really would love to be in their mind while this was happening, because damn well what they were thinking was something pretty fucking scary. If they had
yeah.
the mindset to shoot someone 4 times, take a break, and then decide to follow through with 3 more shots, that's insane, dude. It's really,
Yeah,
even if
it
the
is.
guy's rushing him or is carrying a freaking machete, 7 times is a lot.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
lot.
No, it is, man. It is. And this incident happened in Wisconsin, right? So, I gotta give a shout out to the Milwaukee Bucks. I
Yeah.
mean, they started a movement themselves today. They're in the playoffs. They're the number 1 seed in the East, and they basically are standing up for their community in this, who is in outrage, and just say, "Hey, we're not playing. We are not playing until you do something about this. Until you, um, bring justice to this. At least arrest this fool. This guy needs to be
Yeah.
arrested." And
Yeah.
they are bringing way more awareness than anything else that has trickled down to almost every game that
Hmm.
was scheduled today across the board, baseball, whatever else, has
Yeah.
been canceled. Not because of COVID-19, but because of 7 shots in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And
We
it's
had this
amazing.
we had this conversation after George Floyd about sports and the talk of basketball and some of the players not wanting to play because of it and everything. And we were of a different mindset, but I feel like that was a very different scenario in some ways too.
Yeah, yeah,
This, that was weeks after, things had been going on, and it was a time for where the best way to use their platform was to play.
yeah,
Um,
and this is
this is
I'm sure they're
different.
gonna play in a few days,
Yeah.
but
Um,
this was a great opportunity to bring immediate awareness
yes.
and refusal to the point of we told you in March, like, why do we need to tell you again? We're not gonna stand for this shit,
Yeah,
and that's kind of the move that they made.
and the thing that makes it a really big deal is like you said, this is a playoff game. If any other situation, that's a forfeit. That's a loss. So, and it shows like they really are serious about this if they were willing to jeopardize a loss, which is a big deal in playoffs.
Right.
It just goes to show
Yeah,
like
they were willing to
this
forfeit
is
that.
bigger than sports. It's bigger than a team. It's bigger than a single person. Um, this is life. This is
Yeah.
really the difference between life and death. And when all of a sudden, and it brought awareness to a lot of people that didn't even know what was going on. I mean, when you get the alert on your phone, ESPN, oh, game, the game that you're looking forward to watching today has been postponed because of, um, the shooting of Jacob Blake, you kind of go, wait, what?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no, it was a
I don't
fantastic
expect this
move.
to be the last. I honestly feel like because this year especially, it's easier to like, oh, we're gonna cancel and postpone and move the schedule and reschedule and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of feel like this is opening the door to do this way more often. You've never
Yeah.
seen sports canceled. You've never really seen.
No,
You've
I
seen
did.
guys protest during the national anthem or wear something in protest or but they've always had to be there. And I feel like
Especially with sports like basketball and football, because
yeah,
football, they play through
yeah, yeah, yeah.
freaking
No, everything.
negative degree weather, and basketball is played indoors. Like, there's
Yeah,
no reason for it to be canceled. So when a game is canceled, it's a
it's
big deal.
on.
I think before today, um and I could be wrong, the only other time a basketball game has been canceled outside of COVID related was I think there was a pretty serious hurricane or tornado or some kind of scare
Yeah, I think it
that
was
a game
catastrophic
got,
weather related.
yeah,
You
that
know?
even a basketball, like it was enough to where, they didn't want large amounts of people getting together in a state. I don't remember the team I just met. This was years ago too. And
Yeah,
that was a big deal. Like, oh my God, a game's actually getting postponed because a
right,
basketball game's getting postponed because of weather. What? Like, that's a big deal. But
it
the
hurt.
fact that this didn't just shut down a game, it shut down the entire sport for the day. No playoff games were played today. I believe no baseball games were played today.
No.
That is real.
Yeah.
And it's something that needs to be done. Uh, and it's really awesome that it happened. Um, and it's really great to see the black community because especially basketball. Basketball is heavily African American players. It's good to see them taking a stand like this because we tried it before. Dave Chappelle said it great where this isn't a time for celebrities. This is a time for the people. But uh, it's pretty apparent, unfortunately, the people weren't enough. So now it's really time for everybody
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
their part. And celebrities being basketball players, baseball players doing their part for shutting down the WNBA. How fucking brutal were those shirts? Did you see the shirts?
Yeah.
Oh my
Those are
God, dude!
great.
I literally sat here reading articles and I saw that, and to myself in this room like a weird, I freaking clapped. Like,
Yeah,
bravo! Like
absolutely.
that's like
To
seven
be honest, dude,
bleeding bullet holes in the back of their shirts. That is
the
just,
women have the biggest balls of
oh
anybody.
yeah.
I mean,
But
it's
that's
like,
like that just,
especially like going back to like when USA Soccer was winning the World Cup, like Megan Rapinoe, like she has the biggest fucking set of balls
yeah.
of anybody in this planet, and she's not afraid to show them, and rightfully so. I mean, she's standing up for all the right things, and people fucking love her for it. It is amazing. Like, sorry to get on my soapbox here for a little bit, but like,
That's okay.
I'm like, I fucking love her so much and what she's doing for that sport and for the girls and everything else. Like, she has brought so
Yeah.
much awareness to the equality, the differences that are not equal, and the fact that they need to be equal amongst male and female sports. So
Yeah.
I mean, I just like, my hat goes off to those girls, man. And the WNBA has just jumped right in, and like, I feel like that team has not skipped a beat, and they've just been emulated by all the NBA teams,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
But wow, those shirts, man,
or
they were just
WNBA
like,
teams.
wow.
Yeah.
That's the big statement and a statement that's needed to be shown. I
Yeah.
just 7 times, dude. I can't get over. I know I've said that 100 times, but like I'm gonna say it again. 7 times.
It's insane, man. It
Like
really is. It's sad.
just unbelievable, dude. I just can't wrap my head around this. After the George Floyd stuff, I'll be honest that I talked to a couple of my African American friends about this and coworkers. Like, it's kind of disgusted to be in my own skin for the first time in my life. Um,
Yeah.
I feel differently about this because I feel like this. We don't know. I'm sure like race is involved somewhat, but this hit me in a different way. Of it, just like I think this is the really was the wake up for me personally. Like, some shit's really got to change with training and stuff because this
Yeah.
is like 7 times.
Yeah, man. I
This
mean,
is something like a movie. Like it's literally straight out of a movie.
well, and it goes back to like it's like you go back to like, okay, there's a handful of bad cops and there's good cops, but it's like, I mean, what if it's a good cop that's like making a really bad decision?
Yeah.
You
And
know, it's
everyone
like,
has their bad days, but
yeah,
and that's the sad thing though is like as a police officer, you can't. You
I'm
cannot
not giving
have
him a
that.
pass. It's like he becomes a bad cop the minute you do this thing. It's like it's unacceptable, regardless. It's like,
Yeah.
but I get it. Everyone's like, oh, but he was a great guy. It's like, yeah, we get it. But
Yeah,
at
and
the same time, it's
that's
like
what like
it's
I've been reading
unacceptable.
is this isn't a I don't even know the name of the guy that killed George Floyd. That's how much I don't care about that guy, but he was apparently a big piece of shit. But this
Yeah,
cop
yeah,
has a different track record. His
right.
record's
It's
very
clean.
positive, very
Yeah,
clean, kind of a like dorky, great guy.
he's
And we honestly
31.
we don't know. We don't know. Maybe maybe had a rough night's sleep and just was not focused. We don't know yet. We may never know. And the reality is this could definitely be a scenario where this is a complete just bad choice, bad timing, bad moment, everything, bad place, bad time. happened to a good guy. But you know what? I just the reason I have a hard time with that is that hesitation, man.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
the
no, it's
hesitation and
tough.
then to shoot again is what really gives me a hard time believing that this was bad judgment.
Yeah.
It really is killing that possibility for me
No,
big
no, no.
time.
I mean, it's obvious, but
Um,
you know,
bad day or not, it's just this guy's gonna
he's,
be
he's
going
gonna
away
pay
for a
for it.
long time.
He's gonna pay for it, especially because
And
somebody was
if this guy is not arrested and charged with attempted murder, uh, it's gonna cause some major uproars throughout the country. Like,
Yeah, I mean, rightfully so, you know,
yeah,
and it's like it'll be understood why they're happening, but going back to sports, in this context a little bit,
yeah,
when, when it was pretty clear the NBA stance, that's when MLB started to look at this a little bit more seriously and what are we gonna do tonight? Are we gonna cancel games or whatnot? And I was actually driving home from work today and listening to the local sports station, shout out 95.7 The Game. They, they played some quick audio, um, at the time that was live that they captured Giants manager Gabe Kapler sort of giving a
your
statement on
buddy.
the situation. Yeah, and I know I just came out speaking so much shit about him in terms of how he can't speak, and it's still true. Like when he's talking about baseball, like it's like it's still fucking all right, Gabe, but what he said today in light of this situation and just the Black Lives Matter situation and movement in general, the man can speak properly when it comes to things like this. It's like
Mhm.
baseball, we still work on baseball, but like when it comes to real life situations, you you peel back another layer of the onion of who Gabe Kapler really is and the type of guy he really is. Like he's a good dude. He's a great dude, and it was audio on the radio, so I don't know if he read what he said or if he said it off the cuff, but it sounded pretty off the cuff, and I want to praise him for what he said because he didn't use the word he didn't stutter, and every single word he used was a fantastic word to use at that very juncture that he used it. And I think that his point was very well conveyed and received, and it was strong. And I give him my hat goes off to him in that situation. If he were to have played a game tonight and then we were talking to him after the game, his conversation would be very different, and I would judge him very differently. We all know that, but in this very moment, like he was a human being, not a manager,
Mhm.
and it was about the conversation amongst the players. It was about the conversation of the issue at hand and how we're talking about it, handling it, educating ourselves about it. And baseball definitely was a secondary thought to all of this, which was amazing to see, as it should be.
Yeah,
We're playing a game for entertainment. He didn't, these weren't his words, but they're playing a game for entertainment. And, as much as we love entertainment for our own selfish, enjoyment, the world doesn't really need that right now. The world needs people to understand and really sort of pay attention to what's going on
yeah,
and make the right choices to change what's happening for the better, you know?
yeah.
So it's difficult, but I mean, if you get a chance to go look at that, look up that audio, it was a good one. If he has like a audio highlight reel, like that should be on it, for sure.
It'll
Not some of his other stuff that he's had
probably
so
be the
far.
only thing on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I think we can kind of wrap this up. I don't think there's really much more that needs to be said on it. It's disgusting.
yeah, it's
I
ridiculous.
think um there's like I started the conversation, I'll end it the same way. There's really no excuse. Bad day, great guy, bad day.
Yeah,
The
it
way it
doesn't
played
matter.
out.
You're no longer a great guy now,
No,
you know?
no. I think I speak for us both when I just say I hope he gets the absolute max in the situation on punishment. And I hope that Jacob Blake has a as best of a recovery as you can when you get shot in the back 7 times.
I know.
The paralyzed thing, I I can't say pray because I'm not religious, but I really hope that's not the case. Um, if it is, that's really unfortunate. The one good of this is for him, he'll be taken care of. I'm sure the city will make
Hopefully,
sure
yeah.
that him and his family are okay. And
Well, you
and the
think
biggest
about
thing
the
really
kids
is the kids.
think about the two. Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, hopefully those kids are gonna need some therapy for sure. And I mean, at least they still, right now, anyway, their father's still alive, which is
Yeah,
a positive.
that's just
You know,
amazing. This guy's gonna have to have a conversation with 50 Cent for sure.
yeah. I was
Um,
thinking that myself.
I just want to
So
say before you go, it's gonna be hard, and it's hard to say it, but we have to still keep in our minds somewhere, as difficult as it is. This does not speak for all police officers.
right.
Um, we have great human beings that do great things in all communities. We've seen the great things that white police officers do in black communities. You've seen the videos of the black guy, the white cop getting called out to the loud black guys playing basketball, and what does he do? He joins in on the
Yeah, he
game.
plays with them. Yeah. The
Those
next
things
time he
do
brought
happen.
Shaq, you know.
Those things do happen, and those police officers do exist.
Yeah.
So anyone that listens to us and is gonna go,
Well, and there's probably more of those out there than you realize, but those
yeah,
they don't usually get talked about.
no,
They
because
fly
that's not
under the radar.
exciting.
It's like
That's not
these
a
are the negative
thriller.
things that are always make the news, and it's like,
Yeah,
they should for good reason, but
yeah,
we should also highlight the positive situations a little more as well. But um, I'm just thinking a little bit more out loud, dude. Like you got the George Floyd situation, and then you got this one. I mean, these are two just recent examples, right? There's hundreds of these we can shed light on, but um, two very different in the sense where one guy died and one guy is living now and hopefully still lives through this. Um, but I just think to myself, like, okay, in the George Floyd case, um, the jury, okay, the jury in this case only has what we know, the video to go off of,
hmm
all the evidence that everyone probably knows. They don't get George Floyd's side of the story.
hmm
In this case, you get the officer and hopefully Jacob Blake both in the courtroom at the same time. And can you imagine being on that jury in this climate of have you ever been on
It's gonna be
jury
rough.
duty where they're like trying to select the jury? Have you ever seen them go through that process?
hmm
Like where you're on jury duty? Now, on when you're on jury duty and you're trying to get selected or they're trying to select a jury for the process, they are constantly, constantly, constantly trying to ask you questions to get inside your brain to see like
Yeah.
how this how you can benefit me in this case by being on this jury. So in this case, I want to know like the people who get on this jury are going to be more scrutinized than the people that were on the O.J. Simpson
Yeah.
trial, that were on the Scott Peterson trial, that were on so
Yeah.
many of these other high profile cases, and it's really gonna speak volumes for society at large. Like these 9 or 12, what is it, 12 people as it is? It's like it's gotta be an odd number, I think, like 11 or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know now. But it's like these 11 people are gonna represent basically the climate of the United States and how we view these police brutality situations,
hmm
you know? And it's gonna and this is where we're either gonna find out how racist America really is, where where the verdict that mass America wants does not get presented,
Yeah.
or do they side with mass America because they actually feel the same way
Yeah.
and it's that obvious and it goes as planned. So it's like we still have to wait and see how this thing unfolds, and it's going to be the most interesting story for the next probably year.
Yeah.
you
Now
know
this is gonna be a big one. I will say that my gut tells me if we come across an OJ situation, and this dude is not found guilty, our country will collapse. I'm confident with
or
that.
yeah,
It will that will
he's
destroy
going
this
to need to go
company.
to he's going to need to go live in a different country.
Oh, he's gonna be yeah, it'll be ugly, but yeah, it's just this is gonna be interesting, man, and not in a good way. Maybe
Yeah.
though, maybe the outcome wakes up America. Maybe that's what we needed. Maybe that's what we need is someone to live through this one of these.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But they
tough,
haven't
dude.
had that. They
Yeah,
haven't had that.
we definitely have not had this.
I just can't
Especially
believe
like
this guy
the
is
guy.
alive, dude. I just can't. I just cannot. Like, what a fucking badass, dude. Like,
Oh
holy
yeah.
shit, dude. Point blank range 7 times in the back. You know how many organs and like vital areas there are in your back? I mean you can hit both your lungs, your kidneys, every single organ, your backbone, you hit
Oh, I know.
something in your backbone and you're done.
I
Like
can't wait
I
for the
just
Jacob Blake 30 for 30, man. It's gonna be
I
amazing.
don't even, and you know what? Like, all the dirt comes out on everyone after these. Like everyone
Oh yeah.
tried
Yeah.
to stain George Floyd, and we even mentioned it. He did not have the great pass, but it doesn't matter
Not
with
about the
how it's
past,
not.
because
Yeah,
like when the officer shows up, they don't know the past.
yeah.
And it's like
Even if they
you're
do, even
taught
if
and
they do have a
trained
little
to
bit of
assess
that
every
intel,
situation. Yeah, you
it
might
doesn't.
have
It's yeah,
fucking 3 sentences on somebody. That's not their entire life.
yeah,
You might have a description. That's just to identify who you're looking for.
yeah.
That's not to judge the individual,
Well, no,
enough
because
to
they are
kill
told.
them or
They're
not,
told if they
you
had
know?
priors. They're told. Um,
Yeah, but what kind of priors? You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like,
Well,
"Oh, he got
George Floyd
arrested
had
for
some
drugs?"
pretty dark
Like, he got
things on
arrested
his.
for, like, it's one thing to know if the individual in question has violent priors. Like,
Yeah,
that would be understandable, and, and did those violent priors involve weapons of any kind? Like, yeah, if they're priors, you're gonna know that information.
yeah. They yeah, they can be told like if someone, had past violent crimes or something so the police officer knows what to expect a little more. But another big thing I wanted to point out really quick before we start getting to wrapping it up, is the style of these murders or murder, attempted murder, is very different too in the fact that George Floyd's, I feel like that was a strict power play. That was a police officer showing his power. For this one, I feel like this is a police officer showing how stupid that they actually can be. Um,
Yeah,
it's just very
culmination
different.
of
Uh,
this person is so untrained that this person is so scared
yeah,
that they reverted to being so stupid at the same time
yeah,
and making the worst possible decision,
yeah.
at the moment.
So that's just something that's interesting that I was thinking about earlier before we started chatting. It's just the difference in these two uh, attacks and just the mindsets behind the people. It's just
Yeah.
you can tell that they're similar in the fact that it is white on black, but I feel like race was definitely involved with George Floyd. I'm not there yet with this one. I feel like just because it's white on black, right now the country's in a point where we jump right to racism. I don't know if there's been anything that's come out about this guy yet. I feel like the main, and again, I'm not trying to take away from the racist problem that we have, but I just feel like in this one, the main concern is the lack of training, the lack of just basic like how to solve or handle a situation that this
Yeah.
police officer had. The lack of
Yeah.
that, um, like just how calm Jacob Blake was moving, how he was walking, how he wasn't, even if he was aggravated or agitated or whatever, it wasn't to an extent that needed the outcome that it was. The way he walked to the car, the way,
Right.
it almost to me, I almost got a little bit of a vibe that the police officer did it because he was offended that he wasn't getting the respect that he felt he deserved as a police officer, because this guy literally was walking away from him, and you could kind of tell in the body language that which is totally okay in my opinion. Of You could kind of tell in the body language that Jacob Blake was walking away with that, oh, screw this loser
Yeah,
kind of like
exactly.
vibe to him.
Exactly.
which is
Like, I don't
fine.
want to be here right now. I'm out.
Which is
you
fine.
know?
I've had that same feeling dealing with police officers in that
Yeah.
same situation where I'm trying to help, I'm trying to provide information, and the police officer is being a douchebag to the point where I'm like, well, you figure it out then. You don't need my
Yeah.
information. I was a witness to a car crash, a pretty bad car crash. That actually, I'll tell you this real quick. I'll make it short. So I was on my way to work one day, and as I'm turning out of Valimar, where I used to live, I look and I just perfect timing. I see the collision, and I see this SUV start barreling down the freeway. So I pull over, and what had happened is an old guy just kind of veered into a lane, and the SUV was speeding and clipped him and just flipped. The driver of the SUV was a police officer going into a shift. So I stayed back. I made sure he was okay. Made sure the old guy was okay until the police and ambulance came. And the first police officer came up. Hey, did you see what happened? I was like, yeah, I saw it happen. And sorry, I'm gonna ask you some questions. Started asking me questions. I started explaining. He was like, "No, tell exactly what happened." I'm trying to tell me like exactly what I saw. He's like,
yeah, I'm trying to tell you, dude.
Where was he? What lane was he in? What? And I'm like getting super aggressive. And I could tell it was because right out the gate, he it wasn't the police officer's fault at all. It was 100% the old guy. Like I saw the whole thing. But before he even let me speak, he was prepping for me to either make it so it wasn't the police officer's fault. Like I just got that vibe to the point where it was like it pissed me off. And to the point where
eliminate certain avenues for you to go down.
Yeah.
By the questions that he's asking.
Yeah, and he'd ask me a question, and I go to answer it, and as in the middle of me answering it, he would ask me another question and be like, "Well, can you need to give more detail than that?" When I was like given as much detail as really was necessary. So it got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm late for work. You obviously don't need my information, but if you do, you know where to find me. Give me a call. And I walked away, and he let me walk away, which is another privilege thing because I'm sure this is probably a similar situation. Yeah. I didn't get shot in the back. I went to work.
Yeah, he didn't even come after you.
I went to work and had to explain to my boss why I was 15 minutes late.
Yeah, and you're trying to just be like a good citizen and do the right thing.
Yeah. So, but I forgot where I was going with that, but just basically the concept of like, I'm sure the police officer was probably insulted that he wasn't getting the respect he felt he deserved, and that was probably part of what triggered this. Unfortunately, it was on video, and this guy's fucked for life. So,
yeah, but but like the cop in your situation was probably fine in the fact that you left because he probably didn't even put your statement on record. So he got to.
I never got a call about it or anything.
Yeah,
I never got a call or anything about it.
Oh yeah, you never will.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's interesting, man. I was gonna say one more thing and then I forgot. I don't know.
Well, while you're thinking, I wanted to wrap up what I was saying earlier, and then we got sidetracked like we usually do.
Yeah, it's hard for us to
when whoever listens to us, if you're someone that goes out and protests, that's awesome. I really do support that as long as you're protesting for the right things. I just wanted to mention that. Just try to remember that the police officers that you're going to come face to face with, they're not all like that. There are good people on that line that are there just to make sure that the small businesses and community are taken care of and are making sure that, people are looting and doing stuff that they're not supposed to. And they want to keep it peaceful. And that's really what they want to do. So in the heat of the moment, just try to remember that there are people that you're face to face with that don't want to be there or that agree with you. So,
yeah.
And on the other side, people like this cop deserve to be ridiculed and honestly socially buried. And you want to. This is prime cancel culture. This is a guy that deserves to be canceled from life.
Yeah, these guys shouldn't get opportunities. This guy should definitely go to jail, but definitely should not get an opportunity to work for any other agency. No. Again.
This is a guy that's face should really never show up on any kind of social media site again. He should just close just disappear. Yeah. Be grateful that you're alive and that the guy you shot is alive, because if he wasn't, you'd probably be facing the death penalty for the way you went about shooting this guy. This is the most crazy shooting out of them all. And it's like this guy, I hope every night in his prison cell when he gets there, because he'll get there, he thanks God that Jacob Blake is a strong son of a bitch and survives 7 shots to the back. Because otherwise he'd probably be on death row for this. Just of how out. If Jacob Blake died from this, this would be George Floyd times 1,000. And not to take away from what happened to George Floyd, but this, I mean.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry to say, bro, but it's like whether he dies or not, it should be George Floyd times 1,000 because it's like here we are again, irregardless if the guy died or not. That's a circumstance of maybe just where the bullets landed. The fact that you unloaded 7 shots in general, you know, could have just as easily killed anyone. One shot could have just as easily killed anyone.
Yeah.
So the fact that you fired your weapon unjustly in this case, you know, that's why there's uproar. That's why like we continue to see these issues continuously happen repeatedly that should never be happening. Your gun shouldn't have even been out. Your gun shouldn't have even, you know, been drawn. You sure as hell shouldn't have pulled the trigger. Okay? So, I mean, that's the bottom line. And that's what's upsetting people so much is because people are continuously dying over issues that are so like misinterpreted by the police for whatever reason, you know?
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I wasn't going to mention this because it kind of makes me sound like an idiot. You know, I watched this video. I just looked, I pulled it up on YouTube, watched it. I didn't watch the aftermath with him laying on the floor and all that. I just watched the shots and I was so shocked. And I started reading. It took me halfway through my second article on it before I realized that this fucker didn't die.
Oh, I know.
Like when I saw it and the headline and everything, I didn't even question the idea of him being alive. Yeah. I didn't even realize until halfway through reading it. I read a whole article on it, dude, and then I read a second one, and halfway through it, I was like, "Wait, the way they're wording this, let me go back." And then I like kind of checked some point, and then I was like, "This motherfucker's alive."
Yeah.
Like, and that's when I was just like, "You got to be kidding me!" Like, and that was like the
shocking to believe that he's alive after 7 shots, but then you're like,
but even watching the video, I was like, "Oh, that dude, this dude's dead." Like,
yeah.
And no.
I mean, yeah, from point blank range, it's like, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. It must have been a bulletproof wife beater or something, you know?
Yeah. And those things are comfortable, right? I wear them every day. I have one on right now.
I know you do, bro.
It's nice layered, you know? It's
well,
like
I like
a bra
it
for me.
You can still see your tattoos through it. That's why I like it.
I look cool. I feel like I look cool. Gosh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh man,
wrap this thing up, dude. It's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah, a shitty conversation to have.
Conversation. We gotta have it, but you know, let's put a bow on it. Yeah. Cheers one last time. You know, Black lives, they always matter.
Yes,
they always have. They always will.
As best of a recovery as possible, Mr. Blake.
Cheers.
And you know, to your family and kids, man.
Well, and to Mr. Blake and to all the other, you know, victims of this police brutality, man. It's not easy, and you know, it never gets easier after you lose a family member. And I know all the families of previous victims are still mourning, and every time something like this happens, it's another reminder for them. And it's not easy for them to go through.
Yeah,
you know?
and I know that we're two privileged white guys talking about this, but I hope those of ethnicity that listen to us know that we see this. We very much do. Yeah. We're very aware, and we hope that by two white guys talking about it helps the world in even the smallest way to know that we're not okay with this, and we want equality just as much as everyone of color. So,
and we still have a lot to learn.
Yeah,
and we still have a lot to educate ourselves about. So, I mean, if you feel compelled to do that for us, reach out.
Yeah, I love to listen to what people go through, because like my story about, you know, walking away from the police officer, that's something that probably an African American doesn't even think of.
Yeah.
And here I sit where I very nicely said, you know, fuck you, and walked away.
Well, you got to think like an African American in that situation, like, I don't necessarily know if I want to hang around and talk to the cops as a witness.
Yeah,
you
to
know?
be honest.
Like, especially not in today's world.
Yeah,
it's like
To be honest, thinking about it now, if I was African American and I saw that crash, you know what I'd probably do? I'd probably drive by slow enough to see if they were maybe moving. They're moving. Okay, I'm gonna go to work.
Right.
And you know, it's sad, but that's understandable right now. Just sucks.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, you know the deal. Like, subscribe. Thank you for spending another week with us. We'll see you in the next one. I got nothing else.
More fun things to talk about next week. Hopefully society can get a grip on themselves, and we can talk about more interesting things. You know?
Yeah.
So, cheers.
See you guys in the next one. Peace.